This so-called bribery scheme now has people wondering, what can the president actually do in his last few days in office? And are these pardons possible? Joining us now to discuss this is federal criminal defense attorney Michael Kushner. Michael, welcome to BNC Prime.
Thank you. It's great to be here again.
Well, what can the president actually do in this instance? Can he issue these pardons?
The power to pardon is extraordinarily broad and hasn't really been challenged in very many instances over the course of our country's history. Most of the things that are being floated through the media appear to be things that he could do, just they haven't been done before. So much like a lot of the things that Mr. Trump has done in office, it's up to the courts to decide if it's right or wrong.
What about actually pardoning himself? It sounds so odd. Is that a possibility?
So once again, never been tested in any court. What would happen is, I think if you take a step back, the most logical way to do the pardon for himself would be to have Vice President Mike Pence pardon him after he would step back from the presidency through a temporary grant of power to Mike Pence to grant him a pardon for any crimes that he may have committed. There's never been any president in the history of the United States who's tried to pardon himself. There's legal scholars who say the president can't. There is a memorandum from the Department of Justice from the 70s when Nixon was thinking about pardoning himself that says that the president cannot. There are semantics professors out there saying that the words grant a pardon prohibits you from giving it to yourself. But once again, no one's tried to do this, and then no DOJ has ever tried to prosecute anyone after they've left the office either.
So how exactly do pardons work? I mean, is it simply a matter of paperwork? Does he actually have to say something or put forth some legal documents? How does that work?
So the pardon is an executive grant to an individual. It is a document. It is usually it has to be sealed by the president. There are instances in the past of pardons or acts of clemency, actually, that have gone awry. There was an individual in the Obama administration who was granted clemency, which means that his prison sentence was commuted and he was released from custody, and then it had been written up wrong, and it had to be recorrected during the Trump administration. So it's a legal document that is binding upon whomever is trying to prosecute that individual at a later date and time. They're signed and sealed as the president under authority of the Constitution.
Now, we've also been hearing a lot about bribery. We want to clarify, can President Trump accept money in exchange for a pardon?
Also not clear. There is very little limit in the Constitution upon the ability of the president to issue acts of clemency, a pardon or a commutation of a sentence. The only limit within the Constitution is that it not be for an act of impeachment. Now, whether or not a bribery would invalidate that pardon down the line is unclear because, once again, it's never been tested. Attorney General Bill Barr, when he was being vetted for his position in the Senate, indicated that it would be a crime for an individual to bribe their way to get a pardon. But it's never been tested. And once again, we're on ground that no one's ever stood on before with this president and this administration.
Interesting. So I'd also like to clarify, with a pardon, does that mean that there's no courts, whether it's state, local, federal, there's no courts then that could try him for a criminal offense?
No, that's not true. So with a pardon, what you get is a pardon for federal crimes only, crimes against the United States. That does not tie the hands of any local prosecutors, any state prosecutors, any states' attorney generals. This potential pardon for Mr. Trump and his family members would have zero impact on the pending investigation that's going on right here in Manhattan by the district attorney's office and any other states that are investigating potential crimes of those who are being considered for pardons.
So he could still face some hot water after leaving office then?
I think he could, and he absolutely does face hot water. The investigation in Manhattan is ramping up. They have his tax returns in their sights, and they almost have those in their hands. And there's also a second investigation that I've heard has been opened up about tax deductions, tax forbearance payments, perhaps to his daughter through a consulting firm that's being handled by the Attorney General's office. There's a lot of trouble for Mr. Trump in New York State once he leaves the office.
Well, never a dull moment. We appreciate you so much, Attorney Michael Kushner. We appreciate you helping us sort all of this out. Thank you for joining us here on BNC Prime.
It's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.